We are going live in the next few minutes. We are live. I'm looking for a song. Hello, habari zenu. Karibuni sana. Karibuni sana. I'm trying to get a song. I'm so sorry. I've come in late. So I'm trying to get a song that can help us to go live. Tag a friend, tell a friend to join. We are here. Tell a friend to tell a friend to join. So here is where we are. Tell a friend to tell a friend that we are here. Hello. How are you? How are you? I'm looking for this wonderful song by Emma Omonge.
Nachotaka ni wewe tu, haja ya moyo wangu Yesu, haja ya moyo wangu Yesu, kama yala tafuta vyo maji zaidi ya udongo mkavu kwa tone la maji, ilivyo nafsi yangu isiposema nawe, ulivyo moyo wangu nisiposhiriki nawe, kama samaki nje ya bahari, sina uhai nje ya hema yako, nataka nisamehe kwa pendo lako kuu, nataka nisamehe kwa pendo lako kuu, nakuhitaji Yesu, nakuhitaji nachotaka ni wewe tu Yesu, ni wewe nachotaka ni wewe
Nachotaka by Emma Omonge. Nachotaka by Emma Omonge. Karibu sana wakili.
Nachotaka ni wewe tu. Nachotaka ni wewe tu. Haja ya moyo wangu Yesu. Haja ya moyo wangu Yesu. Kama yala tafuta zaidi ya udongo mkavu uonavyo kiu kwa tone la maji, ilivyo nafsi yangu isiposema nawe, ulivyo moyo wangu nisiposhiriki nawe. Kama samaki nje ya bahari, sina uhai nje ya hema yako. Nataka nisame kwa pendo lako kuu. Nataka nisame kwa pendo lako kuu. Nakuhitaji Yesu. Oh, nakuhitaji Nachotaka ni wewe tu. Yesu ni wewe. Nachotaka ni wewe tu. Haja ya moyo wangu Yesu. Haja ya moyo wangu Yesu. Sina mwingine. Nataka nikujue zaidi ya fahamu zangu. Naona nikuinue zaidi ya hitaji langu. Niloweshe kwa roho nikujue. Sura yako ung'ae usoni mwangu. Nataka nikutumikie kwa nguvu mpya. Kisichowezekana niwezeshe. Napopungukiwa nineemeshe. Nakuhitaji Yesu. Nachotaka ni wewe tu. Nakuhitaji Yesu. Nachotaka ni wewe. Yesu ni wewe tu. Haja ya moyo wangu Yesu. Nimtubu bila wewe. Haja ya moyo wangu Yesu. Ni wewe. Nachotaka ni wewe. Nakuhitaji wewe tu. Nakuhitaji Yesu. Nachotaka ni wewe. Ni wewe tu. Haja ya moyo wangu Yesu. Ni Yesu. Haja ya moyo wangu nakuhitaji Yesu. Ni Yesu.
Good evening everyone. Karibuni sana. You're so much welcome. I'm sorry I'm in late. I have come back pretty late. That's why I'm here late. Actually, I never thought we would have this, but because yesterday we were interrupted by power and I had an exam, so I decided we have to do this. So we had a very powerful song, Nachotaka by Emma Omonge. And God bless you, Emma, wherever you are. You're doing a very good job. Now, I think we can do a recap. We are speaking about verbal abuse. We have been looking at verbal abuse, and I said we have too much to cover. So let me do a recap. We looked at forms of verbal abuse, and we said verbal abuse can impact every element of life, including someone's academic performance, relationship, etc, etc. We are going to look at that on impact of verbal abuse. I think that's where we were supposed to start, but let me do a recap. Signs or forms of verbal abuse. And we said when it comes to verbal abuse, victims often question whether or not what they are experiencing is truly abusive. So verbal abuse, we said, anytime you are living with someone or you work with someone who will abuse you verbally, they will leave you with a question mark, and you ask yourself, hii napitia kweli ni dhuluma? Huyu mtu ananidhulumu? You don't believe, so you keep on questioning yourself. So some of the signs that we spoke about, or some forms of verbal abuse, is one, name calling. We spoke about name calling. And just to elaborate for those who are joining us for the first time, anytime someone engages in name calling, it is a form of verbal abuse, even if the names are said in a neutral voice. Do you know there are those people who will always call you names or say something against you or on you, but they say they did not mean it. Ati kwani hata nimemwambia na ukali, kwani nili? So those things that people will always say that they didn't mean what they said. This is not unacceptable treatment of another person. You should never treat any other person the way you don't want to be treated. And you should teach people how to treat you. And I emphasized on this, and I said, it is important to remain who you are and teach people how to treat you. Let somebody know that you wanted to be treated right. It is your right to be treated in a good way, in a very careful way. The other thing that these people that abuse you verbally will do, they will use words to shame you. Example is, they will criticize. Unajua kuna ile, we have positive and negative criticism. So these people will really criticize you. They will be sarcastic. Kwa Swahili wanasema kinaya. Mtu atakuongelesha yani ni kama mchongo ano. I'm lacking a better word. Yani huyu mtu anataka akuudhi mbele ya marafiki zako au mbele ya familia yenu. Mocking words. That sasa wewe ni nini unaweza fanya? Wewe hata nzi peke yake unaweza ua hata nzi. Yani you know those things that they will mock. Yani itakuwa mockery of the highest degree. And why do they mock you? Why do they use criticism on you, or they speak to you sarcastically? They just want to bring you down. Yani anataka ukose value yako. Anybody who makes you to think that you're valueless, ule anafanya ujibelittle, that person is not a good person. The other thing that still they'll do under that is make jokes at your own expense. You know, abusive people will make you, yani watakufanya wewe ndio center of their jokes. So you have to be very keen about this. Then the other thing that we said about people who will abuse you verbally, they will make sure they humiliate you in public. They don't want to humiliate you in privacy. And I don't mean humiliating somebody is good. But these are people who don't want to do something that, or ask you a question when you're two of you. They just want to ask you in front of other people. Na wewe ile shilingi 10 nilikuachia, ulinunua mboga alafu ukafanya? They will just always want to humiliate you, to ask you questions. And when this is done to you in public by a friend, by a spouse, or any other person, a family member, or somebody that you are dating, it is always very painful. Very painful. Sometimes you even wish it was not somebody that is close to you. But let me tell you, as we said when we were introducing this topic of gender-based violence, it will always happen from somebody that you're close to, somebody that you work together with, or somebody that is in a relationship with you, be it love relationship or working relationship, whichever. They will yell, scream, or swear at you. Anytime someone yells or curses at you, curses, it can mean the curse that we know, especially as Christian, but at the same time, for those people who are like mostly in the US, curse words ni matusi, according to the American English. Curse words ni matusi. So these people will use curse words at you, and they will display they display power, and the goal is to control. And for somebody who is taking you through gender-based violence, control is their weapon. Their weapon number one is to control. Once they control you is when they manipulate you. So you have to know that. The other thing, I just said we are doing a recap. The other thing that will happen, they make threats. And I think we elaborated about this. No threats that should ever be taken lightly. In any relationship, never take any form of threat lightly. And this is what I keep telling people. If somebody tells you that I will hit you one day, I will slap you, they will definitely do it. It's only that the day has not come, but definitely they will do it. If somebody tells you they will kill you, one day they will do it. Never take any threat slightly. Even if a thief tries to break into your house and they are not successful, just get to know it is an attempt. They will one day definitely do exactly that they were attempting to do. So it is very important for you to know that no threat, no amount of threat, hata ile unafikiria ni kidogo hivi, that should ever be taken lightly. When people make threats, what are they trying to do? One, they try to control you. Two, they try to manipulate you. Because once they control, they manipulate. Once somebody succeeds in controlling you, the next thing that this person will do is manipulating you. Because control is the beginning point of manipulation. So the moment you're controlled, then what follows next? Manipulation. I hope we are together. Remember, there is no better way of controlling someone than to instill fear in them. And this is what I always tell people. In a relationship where somebody has instilled fear in you, run. And I will tell you, if you cannot run, crawl. If you cannot crawl, then try to walk away. Anytime somebody instills fear in you, in any relationship, then the next thing that we are expecting to happen is the worst. So that is a recap. So I would summarize what we checked on lastly before we come to what we are checking on today, or what we are learning today, that the goal of the abuser is to control you by making you feel bad about who you are. Hakuna kitu ingine abuser huwa anatafuta. The abuser looks at making you feel so bad. The abuser will make you feel so bad and don't believe in who you are. You don't believe in your potential. And I've seen this. A lot of people who know that so-and-so has a potential, they don't want at all. They don't want this person to exercise whatever they should be exercising and their potential to be seen. So it is so important to ensure that your potential is seen and continue exercising anything that you should exercise to portray your potential. I hope you are okay. So those are some of the forms of verbal abuse. We said name calling, threats. I didn't talk about withholding, but we also have withholding, criticism. If we start revisiting everything, we'll not be able to do what we are supposed to do today. So for those who are joining us for the first time, you can go to my YouTube channel, Diana Kamande HSC. Go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and then follow all those videos. I was able to download all the videos in full because I was trying to download previously. Nadhani hii uzee kidogo. I was not able to download full videos, but by yesterday I was able to download, and I think we have posted all of them today. So you can be able to follow and watch what we have been learning, so that you can at least you can catch up with us. So tonight we are looking at impact of verbal abuse. Everything that happens to someone, this thing that happens always has an impact on you. And sometimes you might not know this thing had an impact. For example, a very sad story. I've not been able to follow this. I was a bit busy somewhere, so I was not able at all to follow up, but I'm going to follow it up. This story came up last evening, through Citizen TV. A very sad story of these young boys whose father and mother lost their lives during Christmas Day, plus the 3 sisters. And these young boys, I was trying to analyze, figuring out, my train of thoughts was telling me, you can imagine the eldest boy now who is remaining is 11 years and the young one is 3 years old. What is the impact of what has happened to them? They lost their parents. And even before they heal from the trauma of their parents, because they are children, we might think that they are going to heal very fast. But it is because they have nothing to do. So they will just learn to live one day at a time until they overcome this. But this is something that is going to live with them for the rest of their lives. 2 children remaining in a family, out of a family of 5, where their sisters and their mother and father died. I mean, it was a bigger family. I think it's a family of 7. It was a family of 7. So you can imagine those kids are so traumatized. When they look on this side, they don't have a mother. They look on this side, they don't have a father. They look in front, their sisters are dead. And then they see there are 2 of them, too young even to make any decision. But here comes an uncle who has just decided to step in and disinherit these kids, their property. All that was their father's is gone. The kids are healed. They have been discharged. They have been given permission to go home, but they cannot go. So I'm trying to describe about impact here. So what is the impact of what their uncle is doing to their lives? 2, I want you to understand that internet never forgets, and internet will never forget. This is a story that is running when one of them is 11 years old and the other one is 3 years old. We are in the era of social media, where somebody one day will just come, take these children through what was happening, where one of the relatives would want to look good, because at this time there is not even that, there should not even be that person who tries to look good. Because here there are children who are traumatized. Out of how many deaths? I think there were 5. So you can imagine the trauma in these children. What is the impact of that trauma? Then look into this. Their uncle has stepped in and has taken their property. The kids have to continue staying in the hospital. So if these kids, if these kids have to continue staying in the hospital, you can imagine if these kids will be able to go to school. And a brief profile about their father that I read, he was a very, very wealthy person who had invested a lot. He had a huge position. He had a good job. I think he was an architect somewhere, or a contractor. I think an architect. Yeah. So this is a person who had tried to organize his life so that his kids will never suffer. Anyway, away from that, I was trying to show you the impact of trauma on these children. So you can imagine if you're in a relationship and you're living with this person, or you're dating this person who keeps on abusing you verbally, verbally, this person is abusing you. I think I've spoken so much today. So this person is abusing you verbally everywhere. Now, out of whatever you are going through, out of the abuse, one thing that you should know, there is impact of verbal abuse, and this is what we are looking at today. Verbal abuse can impact every area of your life. And I told you, anytime we are speaking about a form of violence or a form of abuse, get to know we are going to circle, go round, and then come back to emotional abuse. We will come back to the emotional part of it. Verbal abuse has an impact. And this impact is going to affect your life. Let me tell you, for those people who are abused by somebody and you have kept quiet with it, let me tell you, you're doing yourself more harm than good. And I'm not saying that when somebody abuses you, you're supposed to revenge. But you're supposed to seek for help. And this is why I have told you time and again, it is okay to say you are not okay. There is one thing I've taught myself. I've taught myself not to lie. When I am not okay, I am not okay. I remember one time I had an issue and I was just within the church compound. And one of our pastors came and asked me, what is, you seem you're not okay. And I told him, yes, I am not okay. And there started a conversation. But what are we socialized to do as Kenyans? What are you socialized to do, maybe from where you're coming from? Or as a woman, what are you told? Hey, keep quiet with your issues. Let me tell you, you're going to be affected emotionally as an individual. Just get to know who you're confiding in, because that matters. And then you just let it go. So verbal abuse will impact every area of your life. And if you're a student, for example, actually, I think next week, yes, next week I'll be speaking to students, I think at ZTech University. And this is one thing that I would love the students to know, and those I interact with every day, I keep on telling them. Anytime you're going through any form of abuse, it will affect your academic performance. It will affect your academic performance. You can never be productive academically, yet you're going through a situation, yet you're going through abuse. Let me tell you, abuse makes even somebody to lose appetite. I don't know whether you have seen this, you have experienced this, or somebody close to you has experienced this. Somebody who has gone through a lot of abuse. And it doesn't mean it has to be daily. Somebody who is going through abuse, let me say going through abuse, will be affected to an extent. Sometimes you just cook and you're not even able to touch that food. You serve other people and you cannot even serve yourself. Why? Because you are going through a situation that nobody understands. That even food cannot help you to sort out. You feel so useless, so worthless that you even don't want to eat. Number 2, you are not productive in a relationship. If you're going through abuse, you cannot be productive. You have said number 1, it will affect you in so many areas. Number 2, it will affect you. If you're a student and you're in a relationship and you're going through abuse, it will affect your academic performance. Number 2, if you're in a relationship, abuse will affect your relationship because you don't feel like talking to this person who is making you go through this. And then when you don't talk, when you don't want to vent out, then it escalates. Now you're going through verbal abuse and then it affects you emotionally. And I told you, once something affects you emotionally, because you're thinking about it, your mind is you have a lot of thoughts crisscrossing in your mind. Then what will happen? It will escalate now to mental. So and then once it escalates to mental, at some point it will become stress. You know, depression is stress that has continued to grow and grow and grow. And you know, if you're stressed, you know, we have been using this word, hey, mimi niko na stress. When you have stress, you have to seek for help. When you feel stressed, you have to seek for help. There is no any other way out. You're stressed, seek for help. That way, you're going to get, you're going to do better. You're going to get healed. So, just like any other form of abuse or bullying, verbal abuse has short and long-term consequences. This type of abuse, as we have said, like you're being bullied. I have seen a lady who was in a relationship with a certain man, not in Kenya. So they went to an extent, and this is something I keep on warning, and I warn and I warn and I warn young girls. Let me tell you, it doesn't mean when you expose your body or when you send nudes to your boyfriend or whoever you're in a relationship with, it means that is when this person will love you more. Let me tell you, those nudes can be used against you. And then you'll find yourself being cyberbullied. And because you cannot tolerate all these, that's why we have seen when you're stressed and then you become depressed, that your nudes circulated throughout the internet and the whole world. So then you hear somebody committed suicide. Let me tell you, get to know that everything you do under the sun has consequences. And that's why we say life is a choice and it has its own consequences. So it is so important to get to know that there are consequences of everything that we go through in this life. So we have said, just like any other form of abuse or bullying, verbal abuse has both short-term and long-term consequences. And we are going to list them. And I don't know whether it's okay if tomorrow we are able to continue, we can be able. I want to shortlist, but I want us to go deeper tomorrow. And we get to know these consequences. Can we analyze one after the other? Can we analyze and we look at the explanation, the meaning of this consequence, so that we get to know, if we talk about anxiety, what is anxiety? Can we go deeper and define anxiety? This is something I would love us to go through tomorrow. And we get to see, how do we help somebody who has anxiety? Change in mood. How do we help somebody who has changed their moods? And it is because of gender-based violence. It's because of maybe verbal abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse. And then you say so-and-so never wants to speak to people. Let me tell you, and I've always said, before you judge someone, before you just open your mouth to talk about someone, hey, siku hizi anaringa ongeangi na watu kaa sisi. Siku hizi hatuko WhatsApp group moja. Let me tell you, before you utter such words, get to know what is this person going through. And if this person cannot speak about it, please don't preempt. Don't be a spectator there, and then you just start saying, hey, I saw her standing with so-and-so, and this person, this is her background. Could be she was telling her personal problems. No, don't preempt anything. So there, one thing that verbal abuse will always do, it brings a lot of mental health problems. You know the way you say, akiongeleshwa tu ananyamaza. Akiongeleshwa asemangi kitu. Huyo ni mnyamavu, ametulia. Let me tell you, as I told you, one type of violence will lead you to many other types. Verbal abuse will make you be affected emotionally. And I told you, once you're affected emotionally, it means even up here, your mental situation, your mental health is not okay. So some of these impacts that are brought out by verbal abuse, I want to say impact number one is anxiety. And I want us tomorrow to go deeper and see what is anxiety and how can we help an anxious person. Impact number two. Impact number two is change in mood. If I change and I stop talking to someone, did you come and ask me, why did this person change their moods? Or you'll just tell me the Bible says love your neighbor as you love yourself? It is okay when you tell me that, but I'll tell you I am prioritizing loving myself first. So change in mood. Get to know why people have changed in mood. Get to know why did this person who was so close to other people has just decided to isolate herself. She's going through a situation that she cannot even be able to explain. Then we are all over backbiting and saying, oh, she has changed, she has done this, he has changed. Let me tell you, it is not okay to be not okay and to keep quiet. But if somebody has chosen, they are not okay, but they should keep quiet. Just get to know the best way to always reach out and talk to this person. Hi, Sarambudia Karibu. Number 3, chronic stress. What is chronic stress? Have you ever found those people who are so stressed until they have some point kwa kichwa, they tell you, naumiwa na kichwa hapa. Stress is one of the long-term consequence of verbal abuse. And let me tell you, because this person amekuwa akiongeleshwa maneno makubwa makubwa, this person has gone through criticism, this person has gone through name calling, this person has been judged wrongly, this person has gone through threats. So they have chronic stress of ile kujiuliza maswali. Do you know sometimes people can judge you until you ask yourself, mimi kweli mimi huwa sawa? Yet, it is the abuser who is trying to control you and to manipulate you, but you don't know. And this is why we have to know ourselves. We have to know who we are so that the abuser will not manipulate us. Then we have number 4, decreased self-esteem. You know, the reason as to why you live and do the things that you do is because of your high self-esteem. So the moment somebody controls you, manipulates you, threatens you, withholds, somebody is always criticizing what you're doing, that you never do anything good, let me tell you, decreased self-esteem will be part of you. And now you will be living with it. So you can imagine if you have been through verbal abuse and you have number 1 to number 4. You have anxiety, you have change in moods, you have chronic stress, you have decreased self-esteem. Let me tell you, you'll start feeling that you don't belong to this world. You'll start feeling that you are not in the right place. You'll start feeling that something is wrong somewhere. You'll start feeling like you're the problem, yet you're not the problem. It's somebody else who is trying to transfer the problem to you. And this is what the abuser will always do. The abuser will always try to transfer the problem. By the way, the abusers believe they are the best human beings. And the abusers will play, they will role play kalongolongo. When they are near your people, they will portray the best image of themselves. But the moment your people leave, anabadilisha rangi kama vile utatoa wig ubaki na nywele ile yako ya ndani. So, we have said, some of these short and long-term consequences of verbal abuse. Number 1 is anxiety. Number 2 is changes in mood. Number 3 is chronic stress. Number 4 is decreased self-esteem. And now, number 5, long-term. And this is where people will not understand you. I saw a story of a guy who works with Capital FM, who was at his place of work and had bought idawa ya panya rat. And he went to the bathroom, pretended that he was going to the bathroom, maybe for a short call or wherever, and he swallowed the rat. Coming back to his place of work, to his office, it was too late. They tried, even called AMREF to come and rescue, but he died. I have read online, I don't know him, so I cannot prove whether it is right or wrong. I read online that he was going through depression. Let me tell you, the moment you have gone through verbal abuse, the long-term consequence, the impact of verbal abuse is depression. And this is where you say, for example, let me use a man here and say, this man doesn't talk. This man, oh, the wife is so talkative, but this man doesn't talk. So you find this man will not be talking. It's not that he cannot talk. Kajuju, hi, I have seen you. How are you, my darling? This man cannot talk. Oh, this man, he's too polite. Let me tell you, could be this man is going through depression, but you cannot be able to tell. That's why he keeps quiet. And then at some point, he looks at himself and says, okay, my emotions are starting to rise. What should I do now? How can I revenge forever? So you find some of these things will have long-term, some of these or rather the impact of verbal abuse will have long-term consequences. So depression is one of the long-term. Depression is one of the long-term consequences. Poleni, nimeingia na sijapumzika. That's why you see me struggling. Then we have feelings of shame, guilt, and hopelessness. And I think we have been coming across this. And I told you, when you're talking about gender-based violence and looking at forms of gender-based violence, some of the impacts, some of the forms are going to be repetitive. They're going to keep repeating themselves. One, somebody who abuses you verbally. Somebody who takes advantage of you verbally, somebody who controls you and manipulates you, will always make you go through these consequences of verbal abuse. Feeling shame. Yani unaona aibu. Hata utaki kukaribia watu. You think everybody knows what you're going through. And sometimes people don't know. There was a time I asked one of my friends, my dear, where have you been all this time? And this person told me, you don't know. You mean you don't know? By the way, I didn't know. And then she started explaining, and I'm like, okay, so this was happening. Yes. And finally, what did she tell me? She told me, I felt ashamed and I decided to go and live with my sister. I thought everybody knew what I was going through. The abuser will control you, manipulate you, and on top of that, add to you the feeling of shame. Because they try to shame you. They try to fix you in a corner so that you feel so ashamed, you feel so useless, and then kidogo kidogo you start withdrawing. And then the moment you withdraw and leave them with the space, they start now telling other people how bad you are, how useless you are, etc, etc. What will happen again as an impact of verbal abuse? Guilt. The feeling ile ya guilt, yani ile guilt conscious, inakuua na sio wewe umekosea, but because the abuser pushed you to the corner and made you feel that today wewe kama fulani wa fulani lazima utakuwa wewe ndio umebeba makosa yote. So because all the burdens have been put on your shoulders and your back, what happens? You feel so guilty until there is nothing that you can be able to do. So by the end of it all, hii yote itazunguka, itarudi, itakuwa ni mzigo juu ya ile depression imekushika. And you know, these are some of the contributing factors to depression. We are going to look at depression in a very deep way, and I think it's going to be one of the topics ambayo will take a lot of our time. And so that if you know somebody who is going through such a situation, if you know somebody who is depressed, we are going to tackle depression very soon, and it will be very easy for us to help each other. The other thing that the abuser will make sure, hii ndio kwanza inakuaga sasa wanakimbizana nayo ufike hiyo point. And this one I have seen especially to the widows and the orphans now, like the boys I was talking about, that people kept on tagging me, but because I had another issue I was attending to leo, I decided, let me first of all ninyamazie hiyo, but I text someone but I've not followed it up. Do you know what this person will always do to you? Or if you have ever lived with an abuser, you know this. Or if you have ever worked with an abuser. I said abusers are all over. Abuser sio bwana yako ama bibi yako peke yake. An abuser can also be your workmate. It can be your neighbor. It can even be that person you go to church with. This is one thing. The long-term consequence is the consequence of being hopeless. Yani they make sure you remain hopeless. Hata kama ulikuwa na kazi, inabidi sasa wewe uanze kuwategemea. Do you know, there are people who will make you hopeless in so many ways. And especially as women, because I've interacted with women so much. I interacted with a certain woman. Her name is G. I don't want to mention her name. And when I interacted with this woman, she didn't know that she was being sexually abused. And I'm going to talk about sexual abuse in marriage. She didn't know that she was being sexually abused in marriage. And how was this coming up? Because she had to give birth every year, and it was a rule in the house. Then this man started feeling that this woman had become old, and she was old at the age of, I think she was around 46 years, and I'm talking about something that happened like 5-6 years is when we were discussing it. So sio hivi karibuni. At that age, she had 11 children. So you can imagine, at 46 years of age, she had 11 children, which is okay. But you can imagine somebody abusing you and making sure that at some point I'll make you hopeless by ensuring you give birth every year mtoto, every year mtoto. Ama tukiruka tunaruka mwaka moja ama miezi kadhaa. Then all of a sudden, you feel that me as Diana, I'm no longer beautiful. I'm no longer, not forgetting, not remembering that you are the cause of all this. Because if you left me in my father's hands, I would still be that young girl. I would still be whatever, taking care of myself. But now, because you told me you loved me, and I told my parents you loved me, and we walked together into the same house, and we started living together, and we became a husband and wife. In return, God blessed us with children. And then you put a rule that I have to give birth every year, or after 1.5 years. Then all of a sudden you run away from me. How do you leave me? And you told me to stop working. You leave me as a hopeless person. And this becomes a long-term consequence as an impact of abuse. Make sure nobody, jaribu at all costs. Anything else can happen, but don't lose hope in life. Because the moment you lose your hope in life, you're doomed, you're finished. So it is so important. Another one that we are going to look at when we are looking at depression, but it is a long-term consequence of under impact of verbal abuse. It is about PTSD2. PTSD2 is post-traumatic stress disorder 2. This is something I'm not going to elaborate today. It's another huge topic, subtopic on its own. We are going to look at it under depression. So somebody has inboxed me acha nisomee kwa hii simu ingine, ananiambia naongea Greek. I want to tell you, this is something I've paid campus school fees for to learn. So I'm not speaking in Greek. I'm just sharing what I was taught, kile ambacho nilifundishwa na walimu wangu, nimejionea kwa real life. I have handled some of the cases, so I know. Sarah anauliza, oh, my 11 kids, alafu ujipate unalea peke yako. Actually, that is what happened, and that's why that woman really remained hopeless. But at some point, we were able to, I was able to refer her to a counselor, and then later on, she was handled, and today, I think she's doing pretty well. There was a time I saw her post on social media and was so excited about how she was doing in life. So, post-traumatic stress disorder, it is a huge topic because we even have women who go through post-traumatic stress disorder even after giving birth. So, PTSD2 is a huge topic on its own. We are going to check on it when we come to that subtopic. We have 2 more to go. Then we have social withdrawal and isolation. I think I've spoken about withdrawal and isolation for so long. For so long. And this is something that we'll find happening to all survivors, all victims who go through violence. And I told you, somebody who has gone through abuse, immediately we call her or him a victim. Then once they go to hospital, or if they're given first aid and they start recovering from that, they start getting counseling, now they become survivors. So get to know the difference. So short-term and long-term consequences on impact of verbal abuse is social withdrawal and isolation. And this is where I've kept on saying, don't say somebody is so reserved. This person doesn't talk to people. This person doesn't do this and this. Why? You're going to finish that person. You just don't know why these people have chosen silence. Yes, I have said silence is a weapon, but still on this platform I have said silence is dangerous. Silence is a sin sometimes. So just let these people be. And this is one thing I've learned in my space, to let people be. Mwache tu. You know, there are those people you give freedom, and then they start opening up and they start telling you their things. And this is one thing that I have found that will even make you, even if wewe ni ule mtu wa mushene, if you're in this field that I am in, you just learn how to keep quiet. Imagine in a day if you're handling 30 women and maybe one man. They come tell you their issues, and all of a sudden you hear about a certain issue, about a certain orphan, a certain vulnerable child, and then the whole day you have been listening. You even don't have the guts to go sit down and start saying, Irene was telling me this, Sophia was saying this, Mike was telling me this. You don't have the strength. Actually, you sit down and figure out and say, oh my God. Yani, people are going through all this, and you learn to keep quiet. Me, I have learned that when somebody comes and tells me their issue, I will just keep quiet. And then at some point, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to ask God, anybody that came across me or we crossed paths today, dear Lord, have mercy on them and give them their solutions. Because I don't have solutions for everyone, but I will always ask God for solutions. So when people withdraw from social groups, don't go saying that these people are doing ABCD. Let me tell you, one thing that I have seen, especially when you're a caregiver, and I'm saying this because I have been a caregiver for the longest. And by being a caregiver, I don't mean that I was employed as a caregiver. Taking care of my sick mom is something that has taught me a lot. That, you know, when you have a sick person, this sick person will even withdraw from you people and you're in the same house. This person will show mood swings and you're in the same house. This person will make sure they isolate completely. They can even end up locking the bedroom that you don't access them. And this is what I am telling you. If somebody decides to withdraw, just get a way of befriending these people. As much as in they throw you away, they don't want you closer. Just try to get closer. Pole pole. You don't do it very fast. You don't go knocking the door and say, hey, open the door. It is okay to let them be. Just let them be. Even if it is a child. You've seen children, because they cannot be able to express themselves. Unasikia alijirusha kwa borehole. Alichukua kamba akajinyonga. Things are happening. We are in a world that is not forgiving. We are in a world that is not considerate. Can we be considerate just for once, for twice, thrice, and then we will be able to learn how to live with each other. We can be able to continue living and working with each other. Then finally, on impacts of verbal abuse. And this one ends up to be long term. Actually, I was not in a position to respond to a certain message, but I got exactly this. I'm going to handle it tomorrow. I just received the text and I notified this person, I have received your text. I'm not around. We are going to talk about it tomorrow. Substance abuse. You know, there are people who will always try to make sure that hautanitusi tena nikisikiza, wacha niende nikunywe pombe, nikuje nilale, utukanane hapo, lakini mimi najua niwe nimekukunywia pombe. You know, there are people who do that. If it is somebody who takes marijuana, make sure that ameenda amevuta, akuje tu alale, yani akae tu kama statue. And these are things that are happening within our marriage setup, happening to relationships za wale ambao ni wadogo. Maria Gola says, I get you, very true. Thank you, my dear. Josephine Wainaina says, good evening. Thank you so much. So substance abuse is one of the consequences on the impact of verbal abuse. So this person will decide, let me go and abuse drugs. Let me go and do this and this so that I can avoid the name calling, I can avoid criticism, I can avoid being judged. And it will not help. I keep on telling these people who go to abuse substances, they are cowards. You should not do that because you're ruining and destroying your body. Because when the body takes a lot of substances in, then baadaye you'll need rehab. So it is not a solution at all. Now, when verbal abuse is particularly severe, it can impact whether or not people can see themselves as being successful in any area of life. Those who experience verbal abuse as children may experience feelings of worthiness. This is what I was saying about the children. And let me go back to the children who lost their parents and their sisters. Let me tell you, whatever they are going through as we talk, let me tell you whatever they are going through as we talk. If they have known the story or they have heard it, they feel worthless. And they are asking themselves questions. And they're asking God, why did our parents have to die? Maybe as young as those kids are, could be even inside of them, they are saying there is no God. Because if there was God, our parents could not have died. They don't have the understanding. And you don't have to judge them. There are situations that pushes people to the corner. They are pushed to the corner until they feel like God has deserted them. But with time, if they are taken care of, if they are socialized very well, if they are given counseling, if they are given the important therapy that they should get, with time they get to know, even them, they were rescued by that God that they did not die. So these children, when they grow up, they will experience difficulty in trusting others. And this is what happens. If you are bringing up your child in a relationship that has a lot of verbal abuse, your children, it will be so hard for your children to trust other people. Because they will be asking, kama mama yangu ananitukananga hivyo na uko nje je? If my dad insults my mother like this, if my dad insults me like this. So these children who grow up in such a situation, they feel that they have a lot of difficulty in trusting other people. Then when they become adults, they have a huge problem in regulating their emotions. So we find there also impact on children. And we say domestic violence, gender-based violence has a lot of impact on children. And I think when we were starting this, I said there even some bedwetting that you find children with. Usipige mtoto tu hivi hivi. Just leave those kids because you don't know. Some of these things happened to me. I saw them on me. I saw them on my children. I saw them on my extended family, those who were affected so much by my issue, until I had to do research and I had to go back to school. I really needed to know much more. So this is what we are saying. The children who are verbally abused, either at home or by their peers at school, remember I said abuse can happen anywhere, at your place of work, at school, in a marriage setup. They are at greater risk for depression and anxiety as adults. So these kids, they will start reacting when they are adults. And one thing I had forgotten to tell you about the kids do not react immediately. Some of these things, you're going to see them on the kids when they're growing up or when they are grown up. So I'm going to end there. Tomorrow we are going to narrow down on this, on the impact of verbal abuse. Maybe we can look at anxiety and every other thing. But I want also, we look at solutions. Can we look at what to do about verbal abuse? And how do we set boundaries? I told you boundaries. They are very important in life. Set your boundaries. And I said it is okay to say yes. It is okay to say no. It is okay to tell somebody wait. When you learn these words, They are important words, they are powerful, and they will help you. So I wouldn't want to continue, but I just want to, let me read something. Lankisa Patrick asks, "Hi Diana, what could be the root cause of substance abuse?" And as we've said, we were looking at verbal abuse. Could be you're going through abuse and you feel the most convenient way for you to run away from the abuse you're going through, or gender-based violence, any form of gender-based violence, is by abusing substance. The other thing, it could be out of stress. And we said stress is the one that escalates and gets to depression. So you can decide, for me to sleep and not to think about anything, I just want to go and take alcohol. So there are people who do that, but I keep telling people, you don't solve even a single problem by going to take alcohol so that you can get sleep. It is like those people who go and get used to taking Piriton so that they can sleep. Let me tell you, your body has a full system. So when the system will get used to what you put into it, itaanza tu kuiprocess like any other thing. If it is alcohol, inakuja kwa system, inaenda hivyo, unaipeleka kwa choo, inakuwa urine. If it is Piritons that you keep on taking, itakuwa tu digested haraka haraka, inakuwa digested, inakuwa useless because you are abusing, umetumia nyingi, so it will not help you. Kwa hivyo hautapata usingizi, na ukipata mahali usingizi itaisha na pombe ishe kwa kichwa, you will get all your stress loaded more than even venye uliziacha, because now you will be even stressed that ile pesa kidogo ulikuwa nayo umeikunywa. I see people joking about something on social media. There are jokes that I take and there are those I don't take. So the people joking and saying, if you have little money, go eat the money and then start thinking about how you're going to get more money kama umeshiba. It sounds good and it sounds like it is educative, but let me tell you, it can cause a lot of stress on someone. Because if I have a problem that needs 200,000 and I have 100,000, you cannot tell me to invite my friends tukule tumalize hii 100 na nilikuwa na shortfall ya 100, and then baadaye uniambie ati sasa nikishashiba itakuja ikiwa 200. No. That is not okay. That is not the way to go. Anyway, Sarah says, yes, especially if they are men depressed huwa wanaingia kwa pombe. True. Yeah, substance abuse, sometimes you find mostly it happens on men, but I've seen also women. I've seen also women going through, or rather abusing substance. And because my day was so long and I need to rest. Maona venye nakunywa maji mengi. Yeah, it's been a long day and a lot of things happening, but I had purpose that we were not going to miss this, because yesterday I planned we do it earlier and then we didn't have power. So what we are going to do, I'm just going to remind you, for those who, and thank you so much for those who are ordering my book. Thank you for supporting my work. And this is one of the ways that you can support this work, by buying my book. And you're going to learn a few tips about gender-based violence, domestic violence. And also, for those who are planning to join us on 11th of February 2022, we will be at Safari Park Hotel. This is where we are having our annual pre-Valentine's dinner, because it's on 11th, it's a pre-Valentine's dinner. And we look forward. And I want to thank so many people that actually today I was not able to receive a certain call. Then later on when I tried to respond, because this is somebody who kept on calling. So in the evening on my way back home, rushing so that we can have this class, this person happened to call, and it was some good news that, oh, we want to come in as a sponsor because you're doing a good job, and we want to make sure that you're able to bring some widows from out of Nairobi and they can spend at Safari Park. It was so heartwarming for me. So are you there and you're willing to do the same? Are you there and you're also willing to sponsor yourself, or sponsor a widow, or sponsor a child? Because all the dues that remain after we pay all our bills at the hotel, we channel all the money to the education kitty. Thank you so much, and I want to say thank you to Credico Properties Limited for coming in as a sponsor. Thank you to Smart Capital Limited for coming in as a sponsor. Thank you also to Certified Homes for coming in as a sponsor, and also thank you for the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority for coming in as a sponsor. We look forward to seeing you. We look forward to having you. I'm going to share the pay bill number so that you can share anything that you have towards education. So what you're going to do, you're going to use the pay bill number, and then on account you write education, and then amount is whatever God has enabled you. Also share these videos because people are learning, and I'm excited to know that. Mary Agola says learning a lot. Thank you, my dear. Kajuju Kemathi, my dear, I love the classes. I love them too, and I'm also getting to remind myself some of the things. I think some of these things I got them from Professor Wanjiku Kabera, who was my professor at the University of Nairobi, dating back 2016. So I'm just reminding myself. I found out that on my bookshelf, I have all my books that I was using at the University of Nairobi before I joined Nazarene, and now before where we are, me and you, Kajuju. So thank you so much. I thank God for you. And if you're a woman, I think Kajuju, there is registration of other classes. I think I saw something on my email. So we can share with these beautiful people who follow us here so that they can join. I think there is a class coming up for women in leadership. If I get information, I'm going to share every information. I keep on sharing information so that you can get help and get to learn more and more. And the beauty about that class, I think it will be just once a week at night for 1 hour, and everything is online. So purpose to continue with your studies as a woman, purpose to continue with your studies also as a man. I keep telling people education is for all. Education is a liberator, and education is an equalizer. So sometimes you don't need a godfather. You just need to have that education, and it will also open doors for you the way God the Father can open doors for you. So I'm going to do a post after this, and then I'm going also to download this before I sleep. I have to do a lot so that you can be able to get the details. And so that if you're willing to partner with us for the upcoming dinner, individual tickets are going for 5,000 Kenya shillings. The VIP tickets are going for 20,000 Kenya shillings. And then we have the corporate tables going for 100,000 Kenya shillings. And we have now the sponsorship packages starting from 150,000 Kenya shillings all the way to platinum, which is 1 million Kenya shillings. Kajuju says it's starting on Monday. Kindly get to know all people who are attending this class. Now I'm comment, and those who are not commenting, kindly comment. Kajuju, kindly inbox all of them so that they can join us in class. Anyway, it is well. So I was saying, make sure you support us. And I had forgotten to mention my friend who has also sponsored some widows, Josephine of Mujengo Hardwares and Materials, my best friend. Thank you for sponsoring our upcoming Valentine's dinner. And because I am so exhausted, have yourselves a good night. I'm going to share the information, and then we look forward to tomorrow so that we can be able to cover quite a lot. I'll try my best if we can have the class in the evening, but if I am able to come earlier, well and good. But I know we are going to have a class tomorrow. So talk to your friends, chat them, forward them the links from the YouTube so that they can be able to follow. Shalom, shalom. God bless you.